Now, there's a difference between giving from faith and giving because somebody made you feel guilty. There's a difference between supporting your church and feeling like God is going to punish you if you don't hand over money you don't have. And when somebody's mother is struggling, behind on bills, barely making it, and the church still says no, she still has to give, we need to ask a real question. Is this actually faith? Or is this financial pressure with Bible verses attached to it? Because giving should be worship, not a bill. But before we dive into it, show the tongue some love. Hit the like, hit the sub, hype this thing up. Cue the clip.
This that Raymundo Reacts, huh? Y'all came in for the laughs, huh? You did. Stayed for the commentary cause it makes sense, huh? Real talk.
That boy is good.
I need to talk to you. I need to talk to you, bro. I need to talk to you. I need to talk to you. It's about my mama. I need to talk to you. Because my mama, she tithes every week for this church. She tithes every week for this church. Every week she tithes for this church. She gets her rent. She comes into her, she dips into her water and her electricity and her electric bills and everything, and she tithes to the church. And when she thinks she doesn't tithe, she thinks she's going to miss her blessings. So what are you doing for elderly women that comes to this church and they can't afford to tithe? What are you doing? What are you doing about it?
Everybody can tithe.
Everybody can tithe?
Yes.
Everybody can tithe?
Yes.
That's how you feel? That's how you feel. My mama been going to this church 10 years, Pastor. 10 years. 10 years. And that's why I got the video up here to record you. So my mama been a member of your church 10 years. 10 years. And that's all you have to say? When she's short on her bills, she called me. She called her sister. This is not right. Some elderly people cannot afford to tithe every week. Not afford it. It's not right.
What is the issue?
The issue is that my mama is going down. She is not financially able to tithe every week. That's the issue I'm having. That's the issue I'm having. She's been a member of your church 10 years, Pastor. What are we doing for the elderly people that's not afford to tithe? What are we doing?
Let's not discuss it here. We can set up a meeting.
Oh, so now you want to walk off?
We
You want to
can
walk off? You want to walk off? We're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about this.
Now see, this is where I have an issue at. Not with church, certainly not with God, not even with faith, not with giving. I have a problem when giving starts sounding like an obligation placed on people that are already drowning. Because if somebody comes to you and says, my mother is struggling, she can't afford this, she keeps giving money she doesn't have, the first response shouldn't be, well, she has to give. Because if that's the case, me and you got a problem. But I digress. The first response should be, is she okay? Does she have food? Are her lights on? Is her rent paid? Does she need help? Because what's the point of preaching love, sacrifice, and community if the church can't recognize when one of its members is being financially stretched too far? That's where people start feeling like they're played. And the reason this clip hits so hard is because a lot of families know exactly what this looks like. They've watched a mother, a grandmother, an auntie, an elderly church member give money out of loyalty, fear, guilt, or habit, even when everybody around them knows they don't have it. That is not a small thing. That's spiritual influence. And spiritual influence has to come with responsibility. Now, before somebody says, Ray, you're exaggerating, this is the type of church money language people are reacting to.
I'm just going to tell y'all, it's already in writing. I'm believing God for 7 people to give a $20,000 seed. I know they're going to have this on the internet, but I don't care. Somebody going to hear it and they're going to give the 20,000. I'm believing God for so many of you. I don't know the number right offhand, but I'm believing God for a number of you to give a $10,000 seed, a number of you to give a $5,000 seed. Some of y'all sitting in here right now with $5,000 purses. Go apply for a credit card. You would apply for a credit card to do anything else? Go get you a credit card so you can obey God.
That right there is the problem. When you tell people God is asking you for the biggest amount you've ever given, or go get a credit card so you can obey God, that's not just encouragement, that's pressure. And I know some people will say he's just challenging their faith, but let's be honest, Telling people to go into debt to prove obedience to God is dangerous, because now they're not just making a money decision, they're making a spiritual decision under pressure. Now they're thinking, if I don't give, am I disobeying God? If I don't sow this seed, am I blocking my blessing? If I keep my money for rent, medicine, groceries, or my kids, am I lacking faith? That is a heavy burden to put on people, especially poor people, especially elderly people, especially people who trust the church more than they trust themselves. And that's where giving stops being worship and starts becoming control. Now let me be clear. Churches have bills. Buildings cost money. Lights cost money. Ministry costs money. I'm not acting like churches run on air. If you believe in your church, support it. If your church is feeding people, helping families, and serving the community, and you want to give. But giving is supposed to come from the heart. And this is why I wanted to bring in another voice here, because this is not just me talking. There are pastors and Bible teachers who will tell you that the way modern churches use tithing is not always the way people think it is.
But it doesn't have to be 10%. It doesn't have to be any percent. It has to be whatever you think this is worth and whatever you can afford. And to manipulate people into feeling this religious obligation to give things that are providing food for their children and things like that, that just needs to stop.
That's the part. Whatever you can afford. That shouldn't be controversial. If you're stable and want to tithe. If you're wealthy and want to give big. If you believe in the mission, support it. But if somebody is elderly, sick, broke, behind on bills, or choosing between groceries and giving, the church shouldn't be the reason they feel guilty. The church should be asking how to help. And I know this is uncomfortable because some of us were raised to feel like questioning the pastor is the same as questioning God. But it's not. A pastor isn't God. A church building isn't God. And giving money to an institution isn't the only way to be faithful. Faith can look like paying your rent. Faith can look like buying your medicine. Faith can look like feeding your family. Faith can look like saying, I don't have it this week, but my heart is still with God. That shouldn't condemn anybody. And for a lot of older church folks, the pastor's word carries real weight. If pastor says give, they give. If pastor says sow a seed, they believe their blessing is attached to it. That kind of faith can be beautiful when handled with care, but it can become abusive when handled with pressure, because the same faith that helps people survive can also be used to drain them when the wrong person controls the message. That's the line.
So here's my final verdict. I'm not telling people not to give. I'm not telling people to lead church. I'm not even saying every pastor's wrong. And I'm not saying every church is manipulating people. But I am saying this: if someone can afford to give, they shouldn't be shamed for it. If an elderly woman is struggling, the church should be asking, how can we help? Not, how do we keep collecting from her? If the gift requires fear, guilt, pressure, or debt, then maybe we need to stop calling it faith and start calling it spiritual pressure. Because God doesn't need a pastor to guilt trip your grandmother out of her last dollar. And the church that truly cares about people should know the difference between a faithful giver and a vulnerable person being stretched too far. But I want to know what y'all think. Where's the line between faithful giving and manipulation? And if somebody's struggling, should the church still expect them to tithe? Drop it in the comments. Until next time, if you enjoy the content, stay locked in. Hit that sub button to the right and to the left, more dope content. Until next time, I'm out.
This that Raymundo Reacts, huh? Y'all came in for the laughs, huh? You did. Stayed for the commentary cause it makes sense, huh? Real talk.
That boy is good.